So guys, this is the team. Silas, you guys say hello. So Joseph, Henry, Xavier, look, your girls. They just came back totally excited.
Hi, Panda Wok. Panda Wok first, Panda Wok fan, Panda Wok number one.
Fantastic. Eric, myself, and 3 other partners, we launched our business Panda Wok in September of 2018. We thought about Chinese food as a product that already has some penetration into the Ghanaian marketplace. People think positively about Chinese food, but don't necessarily have access to it. So we're trading. And the next question was, how do we deliver that Chinese food? And we thought that we would do so through the food truck business. There weren't many food trucks operating in Ghana, I would say. I'm Francis Wood. It's nice to see you. I'm a Ghanaian, live in London at the moment. I'm married to an Australian and I have 3 boys. I spend maybe up to 40% of my time in Ghana. And this was my family. They take every opportunity to come with me, especially on long holidays.
Victor S. M. Wood, in recognition of your distinguished services to the Republic of Ghana and conduct.
So we've taken a place in Cantonments in Accra. We refurbished the kitchen. It's a place that allowed us to park 6 of our vans. Our vans are also all electric. So those vans are not diesel. They have an environmentally friendly aspect and character to them. Our packaging and all is biodegradable and paper, so we offer no plastic. We hired some of the best Ghanaian chefs who are familiar with Chinese food and have expertise in that. It was clear from our market research that the Ghanaian public has its own taste when it comes to Chinese food. Maybe I can do something about this one. This is the image, this is the one. I am a Ghanaian. Both of my parents are Ghanaians, and in fact both of my parents are from Cape Coast. So it's very easy to identify not just with Ghana, but with the part of Ghana that is close to my heart. I am the eldest of 3 children of a diplomatic family. And my father was a civil servant. We traveled around the world representing Ghana in his capacity as a diplomat. The first half of my elementary education was spent here in Ghana, 3 years. Then of the 6 years or 7 years most people are in secondary schooling, the first 2 were spent in Ghana. I've lived in Australia, Japan in the East, the Europe, Middle East and Africa time zone, and spent 3 years as my elementary education in Washington, D.C. in the States, and 6 years in university education in Canada. And even though I grew up, I would say, around the world, it has never been a question in my mind that Ghana was my home and that Ghana would be an important destination for me to engage in. So $400,000.
Chinese restaurant, maybe like a multi-purpose building.
Some people ask me, how did you find your Chinese partner? Or why are you selling Chinese food? The business of having a business partner is rather involved, and in my case, the level of trust that my partners have with me is really a cornerstone of what business we were ultimately going to launch. It was in 2013 that some investors approached me to explore opportunities for them to invest in Ghana, and by virtue of circumstance, I met my now current partner, Eric. It was clear that we worked very well together at that time, and we have since then partnered on a number of initiatives. We recruited our staff through the Evangelical Church of Ghana. One of the clear differences operating in Ghana from operating in the UK is actually the practice of prayer. When our staff show up in the office in the morning, they almost every morning have a group prayer.
Panda Wok fast. Panda Wok fan. Panda Wok #1.
Amen.
Amen.
We took the view that we would spend 5, almost 6 weeks training our staff and training them really with the idea of customer interface at the forefront of everything we did with them. So the question of trust and confidence was not just between my partners and myself, but it was also between the owners of our business and the people we knew were representing our business to customers. It occurred to me in my teens that I wanted to be an architect, and the primary objective of that was to come to Ghana, especially Ghana in Africa, and build buildings, make a contribution through building buildings. My architecture career was in the United States, so that wasn't fulfilling that ambition, which is why I decided to then go to business school, ultimately coming into finance and making an impact in finance that way, raising capital for African countries and governments. And now I'm furthering that by actually investing in businesses in Ghana. I think for anybody thinking about operating in a different environment, there will always be the challenges of adjusting. I think doing so in Ghana is no exception. We've encountered specific challenges from competitors not wanting us to be located near them, even though we've had approvals from the city to be located where we're located. Accra is not a place that has sidewalks that you would find overseas. So, even parking on the side of a street to sell food is faced with challenges because on the serving side, you may have a gutter. We don't sell pre-packaged food. So our product is actually the product that's created by our servers in the vans. You work around here. What we found is by investing in our staff seem to reward us even now, a year later, with their attitude and delivery. We get that feedback from our customers who write in or call in or who we encounter at the van side.
Try to get to know our customers to see what they like.
My life in the UK revolves around my family who lives there, my hobby, which is primarily tennis at my tennis club. When I'm in Ghana, I'm a member of a tennis club. I'm not a man or a person who has many needs, but when I'm not playing tennis, and socializing around my tennis, which is maybe about 4 or 5 times a week. I spend my time in a variety of ways.
Love 15.
And there's waterfalls.
Yeah, waterfalls, there's a cave.
There's a lot more entertaining at home here than in the UK. It's hard to think of a week that passes by where I'm not visiting a friend. And then reciprocally, it's also easy for me to think about inviting maybe 10, 15 people around. I do that maybe monthly. Entertaining at home always yields dividends in terms of information exchange, networking benefit that doesn't happen when you are in a restaurant or a cafe. All right, we're on our way. And you don't have to do hair and makeup. Okay, bye-bye. So far, in the first year, I think we've made reasonable progress, but we are not stuck there. As I personally think about other things that I might do, the next business that I personally am looking at is with a Ghanaian partner. And that business is likely to be in the IT space.
It's nice, eh? It's perfect.
Jonathan has this idea that for me very easily slots in with my own ideas.
Is it that somebody in the board is said that they want to nullify things?
And that's another thing that I think I would tell anybody who was thinking about building a business in Ghana or coming back to Ghana and having some impact. If you spent quite a bit of time overseas, you might have some slight cultural differences between yourself and somebody who has spent his time in Ghana. And I think as one thinks about developing a specific idea, when the exchange of the dialogue in discussing that idea seems to flow easily between the two of you, what I'm finding is that even though we may have separate upbringing and separate cultural baggage, that easy slot of ideas is an indication that maybe one's cultural differences are not as wide a gap as one might, otherwise think. You are looking to see if there's a tree there. My 3 sons were with me here in 2018, part of our training force in the 5 or 6 weeks that we trained our staff for my business Panda Wok. They enjoyed the experience so much that they wanted to come again this year. And so I'm here in Ghana with 2 of my sons. And it's a joy for me. It's a fundamental joy that they enjoy coming to Ghana. Yesterday, even my younger son said, do we have to leave Ghana in September to go back to school? On the other hand, we live in the 21st century. The general received wisdom is that the world is a smaller place, that it's a global village. So, as a parent, I don't have any restrictions or expectations that I impose on them. Personally, development for me is about people. It's not about things. And then 6. Thank you, my dear. That's all. AI. Now, we've only hired 40 people, but we selected 40 out of training 80 people. And just that interaction, if it opens a small window to how you can do business, thinking through the footprint that you leave behind in the marketplace, sometimes it's out of a small seed that big things grow. I think that as people like me and others return to Ghana and survive the first 2 or 3 years of building a business, it sends the message to other people in the diaspora that there's enough of a market, there's enough of an economic environment to generate a profitable business.